Hello! It's been a really busy couple of weeks and I'm really excited to show you some of the projects that we've been getting on with. I'm also going to take you on a little road trip again to show you a fantastic property which is being restored on another island. We've been busy restoring our own property and while we've had the fine weather between storms, we've actually been doing our pointing, which was in desperate need. Yeah, and you'll see more of that, but this is a process of sort of knocking out the old lime mortar and remortaring, which has been a huge learning curve for me because I haven't ever done any mortaring before, and yeah, I've done no pointing, you know, ever. And I was quite nervous to start because it's such a permanent thing in many ways, although I was reassured that if I messed it up completely we could just take it out and start again. Anyway, I hope you really enjoy spending a little bit of time with me, and yeah, I'll speak to you in a little while. We're doing some house renovations, and particularly with the outside of the building while the weather's still good. The house was built in, I think, the early 1880s, so it's roughly about 140 years old. It was built from stone and would have originally been a single-storey dwelling, which it still is, to be fair. However, the gables have been heightened to allow for sort of rudimentary upstairs rooms. You know, they're very sort of much in the eaves of the house, but typically an Orcadian house would be 6 feet in height plus the roof. And if we go back a little while into 1600, they would have been purely thatched. Later on they were stone, wood and thatch, and many of the houses that you see now are actually stone with turf roof. Originally this house had been built with a stone slab roof It now has a slate roof since renovation, just because that was an easier thing to do than put slabs back on. The original dwelling here was consisted of, the front would have been a window, 2 windows, one on either side of the central doorway. It was a practice to put a porch onto the front door, however that wasn't until later on, and we believe that this house would have been built with the door only. We aren't the first occupiers of this house since it was abandoned, and so there is already many alterations being made to the way that this property looks, and although the original house is still standing, like I say, just behind me, and to the right of me here you can see the walls of one of the old byres, and to the left of me there is what would have been another old byre which is now converted. You know, this would have been quite a lovely sort of horseshoe shaped sort of property with a courtyard in the centre here. I needed to bring you back inside because yeah, we're between storms, but it's still really windy, and we've got that very much sort of change from summer to autumn happening, and yeah, it seems to arrive quite quickly here on Orkney. So I've brought you inside because yeah, we can't hear me outside, but I wanted to tell you about this incredible new project that's going on the Isle of Sanday. My fascination for the 1800s, latter part of the 1800s, the Victorian period, it continues to sort of evolve and take me forward, and all the research which I've been doing, which I will share with you some point soon, because I'm very, very nearly at the end of writing my paper. I keep seeing opportunities to explore. I wanted to share with you this incredible property that we were invited to see. So we went along to this former water mill and a house by the name of Boloquoy. Now Boloquoy is the proud property of Dave and Jackie. They're business partners who have been developing properties on the island as sort of holiday retreats. Now they came into possession of Boloquoy and were aiming to, you know, renovate. But when they went into the property, they realised that they'd been left with quite a time capsule, and the byres, the barns, were full of the history of the property for the last 150 years, and there were trunks of everything you could possibly imagine. So imagine, you know, how we take things from the house and we put them in the shed and we sort of leave them there, but this had been going on generation after generation, and the items that they found in there were personal items, domestic items, you know, clothing, jewellery, letters, books, postcards. It's like everyday items, except it was from the Victorian period. So beautiful clothing items, and yeah, like I say, household items, you know, the crockery, and God, just so much. More than I can sort of explain to you right here, but let's just say that they made the decision to develop the property as a Victorian property, which I was so excited about when I discovered. It's sort of more on the opulent side of the Victorian period, showing that sort of bold busyness of the Victoriana, with, you know, lots and lots of sort of associated ephemera. When they begun restoration of the property, there was so much of the original left, so box beds and, you know, fireplaces and remnants of wallpaper. And I remember things like this from when I was young, you know, when you used to take the wallpaper off and there'd be like layers and layers of wallpaper from previous decorating, and it was the same in this house, and they found small patches of the original wallpapers which they beautifully managed to replicate and put back up. The original house would have been a butt and ben, and I've talked about butt and bens here before. So one end would have been used for sort of the residential end, and the other for almost like the buyer, for bringing animals in, and it would have been a very much sort of shared space between sort of domestic living and animal care. And the very original ones would have had sort of turfed roofs, and there would have been like bed lofts, so you'd have slept you know, in a little loft above this one room. And this house has gone through this evolution of sort of extension and even heightening, and so is now although still quite small inside for the sort of the original butt and ben element, it is higher now, having extra bedrooms. I was blown away, I have to admit. But the work that's gone into it, and just the care and attention, the colour matching, and the sort of things that they've saved, you know. At one time walls would have been kind of decorated with pages from magazines, and some of these areas have been saved. Not only how they'd done it and what was there, but also all that emotion, all those feelings that were connected to finding the items, and then exploring and finding things that they weren't expecting, and bringing all that kind of life back into it. The overall aim of the project is to offer a Victorian experience, and so you can actually book from next year, I think, to go and stay in this property and have this kind of heritage Victorian off-grid kind of simple life experience with them. Now what they've done is done the Victorian part, but they've actually done the kitchen as a 1950s kitchen, which is just lovely. I took footage, but with my phone. I did carry my camera over there with the intention of filming. However, when I got there, I decided I just wanted an immersive experience. I just wanted to sit and enjoy it. I didn't want to do it from behind the camera all the time. And so my imagery on my phone isn't brilliant. However, Dave gave me permission to use some of the images from the website so that I can show you the sort of before and after elements of it. And we will get another opportunity to go over, and hopefully I'll just take my camera, and then I can do a more detailed tour of the place, because it is remarkable. What they've achieved is remarkable, and going to be a really great journey for them, and yeah, for those that visit. I'm going to leave details down in the description of the website, but also they made this amazing YouTube video on how they found it and how they sort of developed it, and also more details about the family backgrounds, and because the occupation of the house was actually, you know, longer than the Victorian period, and there's this sort of generational kind of story that goes with it, and they talk more about that, but also, you know, it just gives you that opportunity to really see the start and the finish and their passion, and you know how they felt about developing the project. So yeah, take a look down in the description, and yeah, I hope you'll be blown away. It's making my hand ache. In some places it's lime and it just works really well, but in other places where it's been patched up, it's cement. I don't think it's concrete. No, cement. Yeah, cement, and it's rock hard. So it just feels like ricochet constantly. It's just like really wearing on the hands. But the lime is an absolute dream to get out. So at the moment I'm actually cheating and jumping around a little bit, doing these. I do that when I'm pointing as well. I just skip over bits, but yeah, it's looking good. It's working. It's funny, you always step away thinking you've done more than you have, and you look at it and you think, oh shit, there's so much to do yet. But this old house just needs some love, so that's what we're doing. I just want to say a huge thank you to those of you that bought me a coffee this week. Yeah, I'm always so grateful to get your support, and really every little helps in keeping the channel going and motivating me to yeah, continue. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you all again next time.